The Sony Walkman-DD1, released in the early 1980s. It's a very obscure model of the Walkman that is not seen often in the market. Before I get into the video, I want to make it clear that this model isn't to be confused with the Walkman WM-DD model, which has a very similar lettering on the front casing. To briefly go into the DD feature, we have to go into the idea of wow and flutter, which is a phenomenon that occurs when an analog medium, which is intended to be played in a constant speed, is not played at constant speed, thus causing a fluctuation in pitch. The DD technology implements electric components inside the flywheel bearing, which regulates the speed of the motor. In other words, if the motor is spinning at a slower speed, the electronics will regulate it such that the motor spins faster, and vice versa. This helps maintain an equilibrium speed with relatively low wow and flutter. While the DD1 model is very sturdy and well built, the Sony Walkman DD1 models have a commonly occurring problem, and that is the Walkman having no sound even when the cassette is input and the motor spin. This problem is caused by the 11 surface-mounted capacitors in the Walkman. While these are harder to replace than the traditional ceramic or electrolytic capacitors, replacements are definitely possible. While it is viable to manually desolder these capacitors, I used a heat gun instead for easier operation. You simply blow in the direction of the capacitor for 20 to 30 seconds and remove each capacitor. Next, it is time to resolder the capacitors. To find the correct 11 capacitors, you would have to search for the service manual. It was quite difficult to find digital copies of them, so I emailed one of the service manual archives I found, and received a PDF copy for free. By looking at the service manual, it is easy to identify which capacitors are needed and which capacitors go where. While it is possible to purchase each of these caps individually, there are eBay sellers selling the caps required for this specific repair. The standalone costs of the components are probably cheaper, but since electrical components are mostly sold in bulk, it would be more convenient to purchase the components from a seller than to purchase them individually. Once you resolder the capacitors, you can just put everything back together. After some testing, I found that the pitch was lower, meaning that the motor did not spin in proper speed. To solve this problem, I was able to readjust the speed potentiometer using a flathead screwdriver. Here are some audio samples of the Walkman redigitized. The music was self-recorded in a Maxell UR90 Type 1 cassette using a Nakamichi 550 field cassette recorder of 320 kilobytes per second audio files.
Dreams on the other side. The dreams on the other side. Go there with me tonight.
As you may hear, it isn't outstanding, but also not too shabby from a light and portable device. This Walkman is definitely not bad for the $20 to $30 it costs to fix it. If you already own this Walkman, or can find one in decent condition for under, say, $150, I would personally say that it's worth a shot to try this repair yourself, especially in this day and age where Walkman prices are very, very inflated. And that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching Edward's Workshop, and catch you in the next one.